Hey guys, so in this video we are custom painting the intake manifold for our C5 Corvette Jeep rod thing, and a subscriber sent in some parts for me to hydrodip. So last video I did like this, the part was metal. These are all plastic, so the process is a little bit different, so I'm going to walk you through it. Well, in this video I was going to lower the Jeep, but it seems rather pointless to just lower the rear and waste time in seeing how it looks when we know we can't do much with the front. So I have priced out and contacted BC coilovers. If they're somewhere in the ballpark of $1,000 for all four, which doesn't seem like a terrible deal, and it's something that I think we need to do. So that is in the works, on order. So for the time being, we're going to pop this off. I'm going to clean it up with the other parts that I have to do. I'm going to go through the graphics, paint it. I'm going to start ripping all that apart and get it cleaned up and so here we go. So before I get started, I wanted to hang a light, and for some reason I felt like filming it. So there you go, ta-da! Now, this intake manifold has been sitting in the shop getting oversprayed, dirt, dust, grime, oil, all kinds of crap on it. So before I dig into it with sandpaper, I'm just giving it a once over with some dish soap and just rinsing it off. After that, we're going to use 220 grit sandpaper, and then the blue wire wheel is 220 grit. The red one is closer to like 180, I believe. So you want to be careful with both of them, because if you put too much pressure, it can melt the plastic and it can leave some scratch marks. So kind of use it at your own risk, but they're nice and flexible, and that helps get into some of the tighter spaces and all the weird angles that these have. Now, when you sand plastic, it usually leaves a bunch of little hairs. So on both this intake manifold and the mirrors and the valve covers that I'm doing, I went over it with 600 grit wet sandpaper just to try and smooth out the plastic before we throw primer on it. Rinse it off again with dish soap, same process as before, just make sure it's nice and clean. So plastic, you don't want to bake it at 300 degrees like I do the metal. My logic here, it's not science, but my logic is an engine gets to about, running temperature is 250. So I figured 200 degrees in the oven for, 20 minutes or so is probably all right. Don't quote me on that. That's what I do. I didn't melt my intake manifold, so that's my science. For the little holes for the fuel injectors and the threads, I actually just wad up paper towel and stick it in there. This is a black sealer primer. Underneath it is an adhesion promoter that helps grab onto the plastic a little better. Flash times, I've learned, are really important with these, so make sure you look at your paint specs. For the white base coat, we're using VHT. I've been over this. I've been using this paint as a color for years, and it's never failed me. So I continue to do so. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Walmart supplied me with these beautiful star stickers, and then I'm just taping off each individual runner. Taping these lines was pretty hard, and they're not all perfect. You'll see later I go over some of the lines with a paintbrush, just trying to make them a little better. As a lot of you guys have seen in past videos, I tape the edges of the film. What this prevents is the film from kind of like rolling in on itself. So right here, I'm carbon dipping the 2 Audi mirrors given to me by a friend, and then we're gonna move on right here to the 5.0 covers. This film is from dipdemons.com, I believe. I have not used them. This customer actually purchased this and sent it to me, and it worked really well. So I'm definitely gonna be checking these guys out. I mean, it did everything perfectly. It reacted to the activator well, temperature of the water was fine, laid on really nice, no hiccups, no air bubbles, no stretching, anything weird. So, good stuff. So after you dip these parts, as you've seen in the past, I rinse them off. There's a film left on them from the graphic, and so you rinse that off, and when the parts look dull, like you can kind of see here, that means you got all of it off. Before we spray the color match paint from the Jeep body, I'm just going over it with a light coat of gray primer. That way I don't have to apply as much color for it to be genuine, and I don't have to cake it on there. So I think this was 2 to 1, 2 parts paint, 1 part reducer, I think. I don't know, I'm an idiot, remember? This part isn't too complicated. You want to do, I did 3 light coats, so you don't want to cake it on too much. Otherwise, like when I was taking the tape off here, it may have caused some problems. So 3 light coats, and that worked for me. Here's me trying to touch up some of the tape lines. Some of it worked, some of it didn't. I always do like a tack coat with my clear. I don't know where I learned or heard that from, but I swear I didn't make it up. So I do kind of a light dusting, just let the paint kind of get familiar with itself. And then the next 2 coats are medium to wet. You want to cake it on after there's a nice base. Again, I am not, like I learned how to hydro dip when I learned how to clear and paint. So what I'm telling you is what I've learned based on trial and error. Some of this might not be the actual how-to, but this is just what I've done, and it's worked. Smoky smoky, my dudes and ladies. I think there's like two ladies. So I'm not gonna crank it down or anything. The clear is still kind of soft. Usually I let these things sit for 2 to 3 days, just let it get as hard as it's gonna get before I crank the bolts down. I think that looks really good. Now, a lot of you are probably saying, what about all the rest of this crap? So here's what I'm thinking. I mean, one, we just gotta give this thing a cleaning. There is just a terrible amount of neglect just all over all this. So, but here's what I'm thinking. So since these valve covers are kind of hidden by the coil packs, I'd mentioned doing red. I want to point out too, some of these tape lines are not perfect, and I tried going over it with a paintbrush to make the lines better, and it worked on a couple, on some it didn't, but from normal viewing distance, it looks good, and I'm happy with it. Nothing is too bad. So just so you know, so what I'm thinking with the red is, since these are going to be kind of covered, we could do these in that red and do the turbo in the red. So just kind of like light accents to make you go ooh, but that way it's not too loud. These are really hard to prep, and I did not want to do the red and then find out later I didn't like it. So I figured this was a really safe, this is kind of the idea I had in the beginning for this car, was some sort of kind of toned down American flag. And my neighbor told me to color match, and I was like, that's a pretty good idea. So we color matched it. That's why I did that, just in case the red was too loud. I was pretty confident this was going to look good, and kind of, you know, obviously it's going to fit the car because it's the same color. So that's why I did that, but I'm thinking we could do little red accents. Both this and the turbo are way easier to prep than trying to get in all these little nooks and crannies on these things. So I just want to play it safe on that. So that's what I'm thinking is, you know, clean all this up, probably just, you know, clean this, make it look like clean silver metal again, and then red. A lot of you guys, I've had these forever and I haven't shown you. A lot of you guys said to look into LED headlights because they're a lot shallower in the rear. And I've had these for a minute, just haven't had a use or a need to put them on yet. And they're, I mean, that's touching the back of the radiator. And as you could see, I mean, that's almost in there all the way. So I think, and some of you guys were saying to build little like extension brackets to just have these poke out just a smidgen, which is a great idea. So I think basically what I'm trying to say is I think we're going to be able to keep the radiator up front. Also, I didn't go over this. This radiator and fan shroud assembly is actually brand new eBay for the MR2 Bug. And it was just sitting here and I thought, well, let's see if it'll fit. And it's almost perfect. So I'll order another one of these. And I think this might work. So I'll make sure the headlights work and everything first, and then we'll do that. So that's kind of where I'm at. If we could put that up there, that's going to save probably a solid week of work and definitely a couple $100. So we'll try and do that. That'll be next video. If that works, that means we don't have to do the cage right now, although I am in the process of it. A lot of you guys were also saying you like the height of the Jeep, and that I shouldn't really do anything with it. I was talking to one of my buddies. The leaf spring setup, it's really, and like I experienced this, but never really thought about it. Those leaf springs are kind of notorious for giving these wheel hop when you launch. So coilovers would be beneficial for more than just the height. And they're coilovers, so they're adjustable. So we can lower it, see what it looks like. If you and I and all of us kind of think it looked better the way it's sat, then we can put it back up. Gives us a lot of freedom, which is cool. I'm trying to move. I'm trying to just keep going on this. So until some of the bigger stuff is here, the final pieces of getting it running, driving, tuned, and all that, I'm just gonna keep going from part to part. So I gotta buy injectors, fuel pumps, which I can get from J&S Performance. They're right across the street. I've mentioned that a couple times. Awesome dudes. We got to do an oil line, just lots of stuff. There's plenty to keep me busy. So that was much needed. So probably in the next video, finish cleaning all this up. Shouldn't take a whole lot of time. That was very time consuming, but I did have to get those other parts done. They turned out really cool. So again, thank you. These were sent in by one of y'all and they turned out really cool. I mean, the graphic is so stinking crisp on these. They turned out sweet. And then I did those carbon fiber mirrors for a buddy in town. So I have that Honda valve cover left. The graphic is supposed to show up tomorrow, so I'll do that. Probably show a little sneak peek of that next video. Clean up the engine bay, figure out the radiator. We'll just keep moving. I think that's all I got for you, but that looks pretty wicked once everything else is cleaned up, which, like I said, there's plenty of that to do. So once that's all cleaned up, I think we're gonna have something we can all be pretty proud to look at, and then we'll just need to make a little bit of power, and I'll have to start learning how to actually drive and drag race, and we'll see how all of it goes. I'm excited, guys. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. We'll see you soon.